Tyson Fury is back to absolutely no one's surprise, and he's getting in there with Arslanbek Makhmudov this weekend. All of that today on the preview show. Ben, Tyson Fury, back in the building. We know what your thoughts are on Fury in the past.
No, people think I hate Fury. I don't hate Fury. I'm just...
Yeah, Joe, I was saying this to you as well.
My honest opinion
is that I'm getting quite warm to him in the sort of build up to this fight because he's gone under the radar massively.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a massive build up so far.
And he said it himself. He thinks, and you know, their ticket sales at the moment are looking worse than bad. But he sort of said it's because there's so many good fights out there, and I think as well the fact that he has stepped away from the sport for as long as he did, it's kind of taken the little shine off the edge of people getting excited. But I think this week people will start to get excited about that fight up until the weekend. So what do we make of it as a comeback fight for him off the back of it feels wrong calling it a retirement, a break from the sport.
Extended break.
Yeah.
Extended holiday. But
long weekend.
I think it's a smart one to come back to, innit? Because especially with Makhmudov coming off that win against Dave Allen, but the jump from Dave Allen to Tyson Fury it's
sizable.
It's a crazy one for Makhmudov, but he's got that look about him. It doesn't really matter who's against him in the ring. He's got that sort of scary look that he's always comes across as a formidable opponent. But I think it's set up very nicely for Tyson Fury to have a comfortable. I see him having a comfortable near shutout win on Saturday, and it's a nice one to get the inevitable ring rust off. And then I think the obvious thing that they're building towards is that AJ fight. I don't think that is what would be next. I think the dream position for that fight would be get one of them with a world title. And I think maybe you get, depending on what happens, May the 9th with Fabio Wardley and Daniel Dubois. That's a potential next opponent for Tyson Fury. Then you can get a belt on Tyson Fury if he can pick up a win there. I think he'd be looking more at fighting Fabio Wardley, if I'm honest, compared to Daniel Dubois. I think stylistically, as much as Fabio Wardley's got that ability, one-punch knockout ability, I feel like Tyson Fury could be a lot more wary of him and stay out of range of that shot enough to get a win. Whereas with Dubois, I feel like a flurry of shots from Dubois would cause more issues. So I think he'd be more keen to get in there with Fabio Wardley. But the build towards AJ is what everyone wants to see, and hopefully we get that at the end of 2026.
Yeah, I think so. Like you say, with the world titles, and obviously, I spoke earlier in the week on Tuesday about where Wilder AJ fits, and possibly with Wilder's number 2 position now that he'd likely to inherit from beating Chisora with the IBF, that actually might be a route. But I think you're right with Makhmudov, because on paper, it's actually quite a hard comeback fight. On paper, in terms of the level of opponent, it's a lot higher than most people would have after coming off the back of a retirement like this. I agree with you. I think I said it when the fight was announced, though, that style-wise, it's just the perfect matchup for Tyson Fury. There's one thing that Makhmudov brings, or 2 things I suppose he brings, is he's tough and he bangs. He really hits and he hurts people. But as we've seen with Guido Vianello, as we've seen with Ajit Kabayel, if you can weather the storm and if you can outwork him, you beat him. And I think Tyson Fury's skillful enough. We know he's got a chin. And if nothing else, he has always had that 12-round energy, that 12-round resilience. Even against Wilder, after he was essentially unconscious, he got back up onto his feet. So I think it's the perfect fight for him. And it makes huge amount of sense. It's a big win off the back of Dave Allen for Makhmudov, that it puts Fury in a nice position. And I think, like you say, I think they're just kind of ticking all the boxes to build up that AJ fight as a mega fight. You've got to be careful. Sometimes when you pre-plan these things, it can cause an upset. But I think they've pitched it at the right level where this will be a good win for Tyson Fury. And of course, you talk about Wardley Dubois. This fight, interestingly, is the first one in a long time for Fury that's not promoted by Queensberry. They're not involved in it. This is Gold Star working with the Ring magazine. So yeah, interesting. I don't know if they get the Wardley fight.
Yeah,
but we'll have to wait and see.
I'm not 100% sure if that's the route they could go down. It's just, I think it's one of many possible routes. It depends on what's happening with Usyk as well, and whether those belts are gonna, like, obviously he's got a fight coming up on May 23rd, and it looks like he's keeping the rest of his belts, and whether Fury is looking more towards another fight with Usyk rather than AJ, if he's more interested in that. You don't really know. You might find out more during fight week and where his head is at with that. But yeah, I can't see it too many problems being caused for Fury. Obviously, like you said, Makhmudov's got the ability to hurt people if he lands, and we've seen the Fury can get hurt and get dropped. So if Makhmudov does land, then it could be an issue, but I don't think he will.
He's too skillful, isn't he, Fury?
And he looks like he's lost a lot of weight as well, so seems like he's coming in here with the game plan of being light on his feet, a lot of movement. I think you're going to see a sort of the showboat in Tyson Fury, a lot of moving around the ring, a lot of dancing and slipping shots and trying to look good, and maybe with the aim of trying to not get fans back on side as such, because he's got a quite big and loyal fan base anyway, but maybe just to have people look at him at the end of that fight and go, oh yeah, Tyson Fury's back and he's going to be the top dog again, and just I think building that interest towards the AJ fight is the smart move, but I suppose we never really know with boxing. We were saying about Fury and AJ in a decade ago in 2016. So
yeah, with Fury, is this going to be a sort of test of what he's got left? Because, you know, I think we saw with Chisora Wilder, that's two fighters that were well matched, but let's make no mistake about it, we're past it. They're on the slide. And so often you see fighters on the slide matched up against other fighters on the slide. So you'd say Lee Wood, Josh Warrington, for example, would be of that. But we're not seeing that with Fury. We're seeing him fight someone who's very much, actually arguably, at the pinnacle of where they've reached in the sport, in Makhmudov. So do you think this is a test to just see how much he's got left, and then that figures out the route? You know, if he walks through Makhmudov, then they can maybe try and take another risk before AJ. If he makes hard work of this, like he did Francis Ngannou, like he has on Otto Wallin on a couple of occasions, then maybe, you know, because we've said it before, it's the one thing you can't escape as a fitter is time. Yeah. And it'll get him eventually, no matter what. Time
is the only undefeated thing in boxing.
No matter what, it will get to him at some point. And I think he mentioned it, you know. I think he said quite extremely, he said, if I don't look good in this fight, I want my team to take me out to the field and shoot me. I wouldn't maybe go that far. You know, we've thought about doing that with yourself a couple of times, but you've still got, you know, life in the old dog. But yeah, do you think this is the test to see what he's got, if anything left?
Yeah, possibly. It might be just as much for his own sort of mind frame as well, in terms of he feels like he's really struggling in there, then he might reassess what the next moves are. But I don't know. I think he's still got a bit to give Tyson Fury. He's obviously not. I don't think he's ever been the same Tyson Fury since those fights with Deontay Wilder, and I think that's what's led to obviously the bit of a fallout he's had in the last few weeks with John Fury, who doesn't look like he's going to be there now because he's going to be promoting the other clown show that.
But I mean, that can I think not having John Fury in his corner I think do him no harm.
Yeah, I think it helps Tyson more than anything. It just takes away that distraction of having chaos all around you during fight week. But yeah, it possibly is that fight that maybe shows everyone how much is still left and how much hunger is left with Tyson Fury. But I don't know, he's also a fighter. Sometimes I look at him and think, I don't think he's ever going to give boxing up.
No, I know what you mean.
He's the type of fighter that just comes across. He's going to be still fighting way past when he should.
Like Mayweather and Pacquiao and people like that have kind of kept doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I get the sense he's got the bit between his teeth though, because I do think after the Usyk loss, particularly the second time, I genuinely believe, although we said we knew he was coming back, I do genuinely believe he was done in his mind. He was fed up with it. He'd
is that because he lost? Or he couldn't come to terms with the fact he'd lost?
Exactly. I think he'd been fed up with it. He'd said, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't have an interest to get back in the ring. And the longer you spend away from it, you know, obviously I think he was still sort of training, albeit not in camp. He was still, in the gym and stuff. And I think he is reignited a little bit, and a good performance against Makhmudov can only make that flame bigger. And I think that's why they've done Makhmudov as well, because we've seen it, like I said, with Ngannou, when he doesn't think he's in a fight, he doesn't look great. He is the best version of himself. And there's been a bit of revisionism, I think, on the Usyk fights. They were close fights. On the scorecards, particularly the first one, maybe not so much the second one, there was a point, I think he dropped the first, 3 or so, I think, against Usyk.
In the first fight, though.
But then he picked up 3 or 4 in the middle and completely turned the fight on its head before Usyk was then able to turn it back. So I'd say he probably, from the outside perspective, gave Usyk his best fights, which isn't a massive achievement because no one's given him a great fight. Maybe AJ in the first one was a good fight.
Probably gave him the
Chisora was a good fight. But I don't know. I do think he's still got some to give. I think
he constantly gets, especially I think after some time out of the ring. Yeah, I think after some time out of the ring as well, he always seems to get he gets itchy knuckles and then he wants to get back in the ring. And I think it's always the same with Fury. I don't think he'll ever truly fully walk away from the sport, whether that's him fighting or him training someone. Maybe I could I could see him being a decent trainer, possibly.
There's plenty of Furies coming down the line too. There's always another one popping
with all
up.
the experience he's got in terms of there wouldn't be many better people probably you could have in your corner, and not just in the ring, but out of the ring as well. He knows how to sell a fight. He's one of the biggest, something you definitely can't take away from him, whether you like him or not. He's one of the biggest characters in the sport of boxing. He has been for the last 10, 15 years, and without him in it's not the same sport. I'll be honest in that fact. He carries fight weeks on his back sometimes.
Do you think we felt that as well, though, with Usyk? Because Usyk's been at the top, and there's no one touching him. And Fury's obviously been away from the sport, and it's always been kind of on. The heavyweight division has been put on hold because Usyk hasn't fought anyone, because we haven't got an AJ, we haven't got a Fury to kind of bring up the scene a little bit. I think we've missed those two in particular.
Yeah, you need big character. I think especially in the heavyweight division. I always say when the heavyweight division's thriving, that's when the sports are its best. And I think we see now, particularly over the last 2 years, when the Saudi and Ring Magazine involvement, when there was a lot of big heavyweight fight, not just with the likes of Usyk and Fury, but there was a lot of other fighters underneath as well. You had Zhang and Parker and
Kabiel, Wilder,
and it didn't just seem, at that point it wasn't just at the top level either. You had Fabio Wardley at that point that was British, fighting for his British title, who is now a world champion. It felt like there was such a long list of heavyweights, but there is a slight worry, I think, with boxing fans that we're getting towards the end of that sort of peak now, and they're all coming to an end, and who's next? And you're always worried, I think, is who's that next superstar. You look at people like Moses Atoma, and he's flying at the moment, but there is always that doubt in some people's minds of, is he going to be as big as these, and is he going to be able to carry the sport as much as some of these fighters have in the past? But I think it's just the sport in general anyway. It goes through ups and downs. You see real peaks in the sport, and sometimes there's dips where it's not as exciting and people are not on board as much with the sport. But hopefully we've still got at least, I'd say, another 12 to 18 months of some of these, so I suppose we've just got to enjoy them whilst they last.
Yeah, enjoy the swan song. We got another two heavyweight fights actually on this card, on the Netflix card, which we'll get onto on Netflix. But Connor Benn, Regis Prograis is a fight that's had a lot of talk around it, but very little of it actually to do with the fight. Obviously, Connor Benn has got himself wrapped up in the whole, I suppose it is now, a bit of beef with Eddie. Eddie's kind of dropped the nice man persona for a moment and showed his genuine frustration towards how that situation was handled. There's been talk of Regis Prograis' injuries. Where do we stand with this fight?
How on earth is Connor Benn getting paid £15 million to fight Regis Prograis? Yeah. It's not just the best version of Regis Prograis, it's an apparently injured Regis Prograis that shouldn't even be getting in the ring. It's crazy. It's the luckiest, I suppose, that Connor Benn's ever going to be in his career, considering that he's never won a belt as a professional yet. And I'm not just sitting here to slag him off because he's that last performance against, even though it was not the best version of Chris Eubank Jr., was the biggest night of his career, the redemption arc and everything. But there must be other fighters out there looking at that going, how on earth has he got himself in that position?
Yeah.
£15 million.
I know, it's crazy. And like you say, I think as a fight, obviously commercially, Regis Prograis still holds a fairly big name as an opponent, and obviously Connor's...
Yeah, but Prograis was done 12, 18
exactly.
months ago.
I think Jack Catchell was making a lot of noise when there was the talk about Prograis being injured, of him wanting to step in, and
that would have been a better fight.
It's a better fight, but they would never take it because, you say,
you're paying him 15 mil for one fight. He's a free agent after this.
Yeah, I think, like you say, the Connor Benn win against Chris Eubank, it was celebrated very, very highly, and it just didn't quite feel right because that wasn't Chris Eubank Jr. in there. No. He was a shell of his former self, and there's question marks as to what level Chris Eubank Jr. is at in his career in terms of, is he a world level fighter? So I think, I think this is it's a big fight, but it's not a particularly interesting fight. It's commercially, it's a big fight.
Maybe. But I don't know what the long-term plan is with Connor Benn, because he's not achieved anything massive in the sport as of yet. He's got the history behind him that leaves most people very skeptical of the early part of his career, and most people are never going to let that go. It's always going to be a monkey on your back, and I just don't know what they've paid him 15 million for this fight with no guarantee that he's going to sign up for any future fights, and I don't think he challenges anyone at world title level. The only one that he did have a chance against, I thought, was Barrios, who was no longer a world champion.
Yeah. I think you're right, and I don't understand where Zuffer benefit from this hugely, because there's no Zuffer title on the line. You've got a fighter you're paying £15 million to, that has outwardly come out and said on a great number of occasions that the WBC title is his dream, not the Zuffer boxing belt. So I don't know what they really stand to benefit from this. The only thing I can think is that obviously they're not paying it. This is not coming from Dana White, from Zuffer, this is a Ring Magazine paid card that he's being able to fight on. And, where does he go from there? Because like you say, as much as I can see why people thought, is this some kind of publicity stunt, this whole Matchroom thing? Just go off, mug Dana off, and then come back and laugh about the fact you've rinsed him for his money. And how it's now been handled with Eddie and Conor, I don't think that is the case, but that almost makes more sense.
It'd be the greatest play of all time.
It would be a promotional...
If he fights on Saturday and then Sunday morning we wake up and he's signed a new deal with Matchroom.
Yeah. Handing Eddie 500 grand plus tax plus VAT.
That would be brilliant.
It'd be generational. It'd be WWE stuff. But
you'd become one of my favourite fighters overnight.
But I don't think that's the case, and I think... Yeah, I struggle to know what it all means.
I just don't know what's next for him past that. Who are the champions of welterweight now?
Ryan Garcia obviously beat.
There's no doubt he'll get a big fight. He'll get a big world title fight. But whether he wins it...
Garcia's a fun fight to watch. The build-up is...
Garcia,
I think, beats him. But the build-up is spectacular.
I suppose commercially, there's intriguing fights there in terms of the build-up and lead into fight night. But when he steps in against world title level opponents, I don't think he's going to have much hope.
No. It's all an interesting thing. I think the Ryan Garcia fight is possibly what they're working towards, I think.
I suppose maybe you roll the dice with the Garcia fight. If you can win the world title, then you've set yourself up, and I'm apologising. But then I suppose if he loses to Ryan Garcia, you can always just turn around and just chuck the Zuffa belt on him.
Yeah.
And call him a world champion.
Yeah, which I'm sure he'll be buzzing for. TKV Riakporhe.
This is an odd one to call.
It's a really interesting fight because I think
TKV's been brilliant, I think, the last few fights.
TKV the thing with TKV is, and I mean this with the utmost respect, he doesn't make it look nice. He's not an aesthetic boxer. You know, if he was a footballer, he's not Messi. Yeah, he's Mo Salah. But he makes it work and he beats people. And I can't see a world where Richard Riakporhe necessarily has anything that any of his previous opponents haven't had. He hits hard. He's obviously come up from cruiserweight. You'd imagine he'll be a little bit more mobile than maybe some of the opponents that TKV's faced, but I certainly can't see him hurting TKV. And if TKV drags him into the fight that he seems to drag everyone into, I think it would be a tough night for him. But then equally, I don't know how great TKV is. So I
think TKV is a solid British title level fighter. He's made it work in the last few fights. You know, even with the Adley loss, there was some argument around it with the shot. It was the sort of shot after the call of the ref, which ended his night there. The Frazer Clarke fight felt like during the fight week, felt like it was being set up as Frazer Clarke had already won and had the British title and was going on to wherever's next. And obviously he ripped up the script a bit there and become British champion. But I think it depends a lot on how Riakporhe can deal with that sort of early pressure and just, you know, TKV is just going to try and sit on you, use his weight and just try and slow you down as much as he can and probably try to finish the fight in the later rounds or at least make it enough of a scrappy fight where he's going to nick enough rounds to win it. But it's an intriguing one. It is hard with Riakporhe because you don't quite fully know where he's at in terms of the heavyweight division.
Yeah, but I would say we haven't had. I mean, the Tommy Welch win was an impressive one in the nature in which he won it.
Yeah,
but I'm just looking at that record, and since he beat Jack Massey in 2019, I haven't really had much where I can say, that's where he's at in his career. You know, we obviously beat Billum Smith early on in his career, lost to Billum Smith more recently. But he has looked quite good at heavyweight in those two. So it's a really interesting fight and an opportunity to win the British title for him. And
yeah, it's an hard one to call.
I just think, I think TKV's...
if you have any aspirations, though, in the heavyweight division, he needs to win on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely.
And win it in a convincing way, I think, to be pushing on past British title. Yeah,
quite possibly. And then you mentioned him, Frazer Clarke, facing off with Justis Huni, which is...
I'm surprised Frazer Clarke's jumped in.
Yeah, I mean, I think Frazer Clarke is, you know, with the experience he's had as an amateur and the ability he has shown, I think he's just up for big fights. I don't think he wants this kind of... I think Boxing News have a piece coming out today, actually, as this is recorded, and Fabio Wardley spoke about that Frazer Clarke fight, and he sort of said, Clarke's been fighting like that for so many years. He hasn't got a way to pivot.
Yeah.
Whereas Wardley was able to pivot going into that second fight because he was so raw. So I think with that, Frazer Clarke could have 3 warm-up fights, but what's he learning from them?
Yeah.
Everything he knows about boxing, he has already learnt. And everything he does, he's already done. So I think, get your big fights, get your paydays. But Justis Huni...
I think Frazer Clarke's capable of winning British title. I think he's, like, obviously...
Yeah.
The first fight against Fabio Wardley, now the draw, is in terms of...
It's aged beautifully.
Yeah, it has really well in terms of, like... Because some people had him winning that night. But I think he could go on to win a British title, and, like... But this fight against Huni is probably the last roll of the dice to have any chance of going anywhere beyond British title level.
And it's a really tough roll of the dice. I mean, Justis Huni, a better Wardley got in there with Huni than got in with Clarke. I think with the way we've seen him progress, and he outboxed him and outclassed him for all bar a few seconds of that fight. And it was the costly few seconds. He switched off and that was the game plan. They trusted their game plan with Wardley, but there's every chance, and I wouldn't be surprised if Huni goes in there and you know, box the socks off of Frazer Clarke and then gets himself a big fight next and gets himself back towards the picture he was at, that if he kept the concentration against Fabio Wardley, you know, where would he be right now?
Could be sat as the IBF champ at the minute.
Yeah, or the WBO, he would have possibly beaten, I mean, him against Joseph Parker would have been a great Southern Hemisphere test clash, but
it's another good fight though, I think. It's good clash of styles between the two of them.
Yeah, it's a good card. Like, it's on Netflix, obviously, which is a nice bonus because it means there is no pay-per-view, and generally speaking, everyone has a Netflix subscription, generally speaking. So it's quite good in that sense. I think sometimes because it's on Netflix, it hasn't had that same promotional push. Like you obviously see with DAZN cards, you know, between 3-4 times a fight, and in between the fight, you get that graphic pop up of this is what we've got coming up. This is what we've got coming up. This show is coming at the end, and obviously this, because it's on a different ecosystem, we haven't seen it. But all of these fights have kind of, like I said, slipped under the radar a little bit, but they are all good fights. Bar Connor Benn program, possibly.
Do you think Netflix could be the place where we see Fury AJ?
Yeah.
I think that's
actually, I was quick to jump there.
Would it be DAZN? I
don't see DAZN letting him go. I mean, obviously, DAZN let him go to fight Jake Paul, but I think that's a different thing.
Or could they come to some agreement where it's multi-platform, Netflix and DAZN?
Yeah, I really don't know. I mean, Gold Star obviously promoting Tyson Fury don't necessarily have a home, so they can kind of put themselves anywhere. And AJ obviously with DAZN, but Turkey and Ring Magazine, which you would imagine Riyadh season, one of those sort of bodies have to be involved to make that fight happen financially. And they don't seem to be working with Matchroom and Queensberry on DAZN as often as they were. I mean, the Ring Magazine cards are often on DAZN, but I don't know. I'd hope DAZN. You know, they call it the home of boxing.
Fight as well. Would it be Fury Joshua or Joshua Fury?
I think Joshua Fury sounds better, but I think it probably would be Fury Joshua. I suppose it's alphabetical. I don't know. Joshua Fury has a better ring to it, but I think it would be Fury Joshua.
Well, I suppose it depends if one of them are walking in as a world champ.
Yes.
If get one of them in place for a...
Yeah. I mean, the heavyweight division, we were talking about it just earlier a little bit, but you know, it's in a bizarre place. We've just had Martin Bakole quite publicly come out and slate Boxer about his contract, and he's suggesting his contract is void, and the reason he's not fighting is because they're not letting him fight because they believe he's still under contract and he's not. And I don't know the ins and outs of Martin Bacole's contract, believe it or not, but
the Vianello fight would have been decent.
It would have been a great fight. And they've both, am I right in saying they both fought FA Jagba, haven't they? And
yeah,
Vianello won narrowly, I think, and Bakole got the loss, but he wasn't great in that fight.
Did he lose?
Got the draw, sorry, got the draw, but he wasn't great. Felt like a loss. He should have lost that fight. I
think Vianello beats Bakole though.
It depends which Bakole turns up, I think. But to go back to it, I would imagine what he has decided is, because they are no longer on Sky Sports, it makes his contract void, because I think a number of fighters sort of tested the waters with that when the first news came out, and I don't know the truth in it, but I think it's an odd one. We always say this, we side with the fighter always, and on this one, I don't know, it's something that doesn't quite feel...
We would side with the fighter, but if he is under contract and he's still got a fight under Boxer and the contract is valid from their standpoint, then they are right.
I also think as well, Boxer delivered the Jared Anderson fight in on a Riyadh season card, which would have been to that point comfortably a record payday for Martin Bakole, and it catapulted him to the very top of the heavyweight division. People were talking about him as the next Usyk Slayer, the one that can cause him problems, this, that, and the other, the next George Foreman, And they then delivered him the Joseph Parker fight at very last minute. But again, absolute record payday. He was buzzing about that. You know, he was in Riyadh Bowl accounts in all the designer shops, spending his bag, you know, loving life. They bent over backwards and he bent over backwards to make that fight happen. And neither of those fights are on Sky Sports. All of those fights were delivered with Boxer and an agreement with Riyadh Season. So I just can't see why he's throwing his toys out the pram.
I have a feeling, though, that he's agreed to this fight with Vianello and come to the terms of payment without discussing it with Boxer.
Yeah, and doesn't want to give them any money.
Found out and gone, well, we need our split because you're under contract with us. And that's where the issue is he's probably thought he's getting more money out of the deal than what he would actually be getting. He's
made silly money. He could probably retire from the sport now, near enough, off the back of those two fights. I can't remember what the figures were, but he made really good money off that Joseph Parker fight. So, and, you know, he turned up out of shape, out of form against Efe Ajagba in a fight that he should have won and you know, would have put him in a really strong place. So I don't know. It's an odd decision from him. I think he's cut off his nose to spite his face a little bit. I don't see how he benefits
out of
from
the ring for so long as well. And like, I would have just sucked it up in a way and agreed to it, got in and it's not like the kind of Shakur Stevenson, WBC and all of this stuff where, you know, they don't want to give the sanctioning bodies money, but the promoter's your promoter. You've signed a contract. You don't owe the sanctioning bodies anything. You owe your promoter something if you've signed a contract. So, I suppose, especially if it is his last fight under contract with Boxer, like take that fight. If you can get a win, then you put yourself in a good position going forward. You know, you got a pick of what promoter or whatever to go to for your next fight.
Yeah, if you beat Guido Vianello and you're in a good spot. And you know, what we don't know is someone else offered him a promotional deal that they're not letting him sign, you know, Zuffa or anyone like that. We don't know. But yeah, a bit of a weird one. But the heavyweight division does feel now, after that Wilder beating Chisora, AJ kind of showing face and being back in the picture, Tyson Fury back fighting, Usyk in the ring, albeit against a kickboxer. It feels alive again, doesn't it? It feels like it's been resurrected.
Yeah, it's come full circle a bit. There's talks of AJ Wilder and then a possible AJ Fury. Just feels like jumping back 10 years.
Yeah, it does. If someone had been in a coma or whatnot for the last sort of 10, 12 years and you woke up and they went, oh, what's going on in boxing? Oh, well, Wilder's just beaten Chisora and he's about to fight AJ, which could set up a possible fight for Tyson Fury, but he's getting in there with a scary Russian. You'd go, yeah, sound. It's 2015, it's 2016, we're good, yeah. And too right, yeah. How did AJ get on against Ruiz in America? You know, that kind of thing. But here we are. We're 2026. It's too late, but we're getting them. Hopefully, maybe. We're in a nice spot, innit?
Yeah, it's crazy sport, innit? But I suppose we've got an exciting few months lined up now. We could end up with 2026 could be the year where we see AJ Wilder and AJ Fury or whatever else. But it is obviously way later than what anyone wanted to see it, but we'd still be excited when it comes around regardless, I think.
Some predictions for this card. Should we go through them? I don't think it'll take us too long, but we'll have a look at them anyway. Tyson Fury. Oh, we'll leave that one to last, sorry. I'll start with Justis Huni, Frazer Clarke. I touched on it a little bit in the sort of preview bit. I think it's Huni's fight. I think he beats him unanimously.
Yeah, going Huni by decision.
I think it'll be a reasonably comfortable, but there is a world where I think Clarke's technically very good and perhaps he's able to kind of Huni's strength being his ability, his skill, maybe cancels out a bit. I don't know. Jeamie TKV, Richard Riakporhe. What are we saying?
I'm going to go TKV on decision.
Same. I think it will be
just going to slog out.
I think it'll be a snooze fest. I think this will be the go and get.
I don't know.
Go and get your dinner. It'll either be an all-time or a snooze fest. There's no in between. You know, it's not.
Is it British title?
Yes. Yeah.
It's gotta be good then.
I don't know. TKV's not delivered many entertaining fights over the last the last few years. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Connor Benn, Regis Prograis.
Regis Prograis is pulled out by his corner a couple of rounds into the fight.
You stole my answer there. I'm really disappointed. I thought I was going to be really clever and go Connor Benn by retirement. But
we've had the same mindset.
Yeah.
Whatever injury Prograis got going into the fight is going to be what brings
Who was
him
the
out.
guy? He was. Who did he fight recently? There was a guy. Was he possibly? I think he fought Terramana recently, and he was the guy that did his walkout. The ref rang the bell, and then he just walked out the ring against F.A. Ajagba. Do you not remember this?
Oh,
Over in the States, like the fight started and he just walked out.
Yeah.
I think that's what Regis Prograis might pull. He might just kind of line up, ready to go, and good night.
done.
Thanks for the payday. We'll have to wait and see.
Nah,
but
I think stoppage or retirement of some form.
Yeah.
Try and make him look as good as possible. I think you need it for the 15 mil you've spent.
It's a lot of money for a boring points decision win. Tyson Fury, Arslanbek Makhmudov, the comeback, the big one. The Gypsy King.
Fury shutout points win, I think.
Yeah,
Is it 10 or 12 rounds? 12.
Oh, it's a good question. Yeah, I think it's the full. I don't see Makhmudov causing him too many problems. Yes, he's tall. Yes, he's powerful, but that head don't move much. The hands aren't hugely quick, and I think Fury, like you say, will kind of lie on his feet, tippy tap, box his head off, have his fun, try and play up to the crowd. Though, as it stands, as we're recording this, I don't know what the situation's, over the next few days or whatever, but there's not going to be much of a crowd in that Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's going to be...
look like there's so much. Tickets going for £9, I think.
Yeah, which is
cheaper than the food you'd get in the
It's quite a good deal, but...
I wouldn't mind, if I lived close, it cost like 10 times the amount to get there.
Yeah, longest bar in Europe, I believe, in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
I wonder what the odds would be of Tyson Fury to win but get dropped.
I think you'd get... I don't know what the odds would be on that, but it'd be quite good. It'd be a good bet, I reckon.
I think that's worth...
Because, he got caught by Ngannou and he wasn't hurt. But
he's got all the capability all the time to just
He just switched off that moment against Ngannou. So we'll see. But I do think I think this fight's got him a little bit more sort of awake, a bit more woken up for.
I think he needs to perform at some level to kick on to anything else, especially if he loses on Saturday, then the AJ fight, as much as people still would want to see it, takes a big dent in the excitement for it, doesn't it?
It does indeed. Let us know if anyone's listening still. Probably should have asked this earlier, but let us know what you guys think, obviously, about the fights, about Tyson Fury in the future, and what kind of performance you expect to see from him. Other than that, we'll be back next week as usual to review this one and preview all the fights coming up, which have...
Dubois Wardley, I'd be.
What, next week? No, it's the week before that, isn't it? You're getting way ahead of yourself. Dubois Wardley's not for a month yet.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're in May.
I can't remember what it is, but we'll. I'm sure you guys will let us know in the comments if not, and obviously we'll be previewing it as well. So thank you as always for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week.
Punches chance. Punches Chance Podcast.